All right, I'd like to call to order the January meeting of the Windsor Township Board of Supervisors. Before we start, I'd like to invite everybody to stand and say the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, now we'll go into the fun part of the meeting, reorganization. Would someone make a nomination to appoint a temporary chairman?
I'd like to make a motion that David Mazeka be the temporary chairman to start the organizational activities.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. All right, first item, election of chairman.
I'd like to make a motion that David Mazeka be chairman of the board for 2025.
Do I have a second? No second being heard. All right, Russell, where do we go from here?
Are there any other nominations? So, the second is just to call the question. It is not a vote in favor or not in favor. Does that change anyone's position? Because there's a nomination for Mr. Mazeka.
Can
There's
I second it? And then we'll take the vote?
You can second it.
I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'm against it.
I'll just slow up there.
So then the vote would be, I assume, Mr. Mazeka, that you would vote for yourself.
Yeah, but can I vote for myself?
You can. So then,
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Opposed.
The ayes have it. All right, election of the vice chair.
I'd like to make a motion that Jerry Davis be the vice chairperson.
I'll second that. All in favor, say aye. Opposed?
I get to vote for myself, aye.
Okay, next one. Appointment of the roadmaster. I'd like to nominate Ben Sonnen to be retained as the roadmaster for 2025. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Appointment of secretary and treasurer. I'd like to nominate Craig Long as the secretary and treasurer for the board of supervisors. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Ayes have it. Appointment of zoning officer. We have SDE currently as our zoning officer. I'd like to make that nomination that we retain them as zoning officer. Is it specifically Ryan Westner? Or
You
just
named the firm, not person, the BCO
firm?
has to be named.
the BCO is actually, the BCO form actually is Ryan.
Right,
But
but
as
zoning
part of the firm.
officer, I
Right.
thought could be just as to E, that's what they're
Yes.
asking for clarification. It's
Yeah.
the company, not a specific
It's the
person.
company.
the company, okay.
Okay.
SDE is the nomination. I'd like to make that motion for SDE. Do I have a second?
Can I make a comment about this? Or is that for discussion later?
You can have a discussion about any of these nominations.
Okay, all right. So as far as SDE as being the engineering firm, in this case, zoning officer, and we're gonna get to the next step of this, but my request is that, and I made this request before, that for the services rendered, there's a detailed invoice and report that is sent to the board, so the board can see what's being done.
When you say the board, are you
Yes.
asking that it be sent to all three of you? or
That's
not?
the board, yes.
Can you just carbon copy it? Because your monthly invoices are
That's
sent
what that's what I asked
electronically,
last
correct?
time, yeah, I
Just
asked at
carbon,
the
just
last
carbon
meeting.
copy us.
Yes.
Typically, I believe, Craig, they're mailed right now, but I have multiple clients that ask for them via email as well as mail.
Yeah, they gotta be generated on the
They're
computer.
generated, so it's just a matter of she updates her list, where they go.
Right.
So I can, if that's your
Yeah,
request.
well,
then
it's
I'm gonna
not,
have it.
nothing against your firm, we need better accounting going forward, okay?
Well,
No,
we
I-
do monthly invoices
Yeah,
with
not-
very detailed
Yes,
information.
but we need to take the next step internally here with them.
And that, we don't have a problem with doing
Yes.
that on a monthly
Okay.
basis. Absolutely.
So
And
I'll
all
second, I'll
three.
second the motion, yes.
All in favor, say aye.
Now,
Aye.
let's get this straight. We're appointing System Design Engineering as the firm
For zoning officer.
providing the zoning officer.
Mhm.
Correct.
Okay, appointment of assistant zoning officer.
Well, before it was LTL, and then it's System Design was
This
the.
is assistant.
Right.
We flip-flopped that, so for the once SDE took over in the zoning officer capacity, LTL was moved to being the assistant zoning officer.
I would agree.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I can make a motion that the existing agency for the zoning officer would be LTL Consultants.
I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Nice have it.
And holds.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Okay, appointment of code enforcement agency. I'd like to nominate System Design as a uniform construction code enforcement officer for 2025. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Nice have it. Okay, appointment of zoning hearing board member, 3-year term and alternate 1-year term. Is anybody up for?
Yeah, well, remember Arlen Crick
Okay,
expired,
yep.
and I talked to Arlen, he does not want to be reappointed.
Okay, and I talked to George Rogowski, and he is interested in being that third member, so we'll need to find an alternate. So I'd
Right.
like to nominate George Rogowski as the third member of the zoning hearing board. Do I have a second?
I will second that.
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Nice have it. Okay, appointment of the solicitor for the board. I'd like to nominate Antonavich and Farbiar's PLLC as our solicitor for the township for 2025.
And specifically Mr. Farber.
Mr. Farbiar's, do I have a second?
Same situation here. We need to see a detailed invoice, so the board,
I can copy the board.
Okay.
I've been sending them to Mr. Long
okay.
as the treasurer, but I can copy the board when I
Okay.
send. I've been doing it by email, so it's
Right,
not.
right. Well, the case in point for everybody in the audience to understand what's going on, there was an applicant in near Hamburg that was looking for their funds, help me out, Russell, what's the correct term? Their
Escrow?
escrow funds back, and it took about, 13 months for that to transpire, and, on that email chain. And at the 2 meetings ago, I made an issue about collecting these funds for services rendered. And then Pamela, you went and collected, and came up with a total of $4,800. And then we told them, and all of a sudden they paid, and it's now resolved, okay? I'm concerned about all these dollars are being left on the table. That's why we like to see all this stuff, so we can follow through and make sure it's getting done.
No problem.
Okay, thank you. I second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Aye. All right, recommendation, the appointment of solicitor for the zoning hearing board. I'd like to nominate Masano and Bradley, specifically Christopher Loveday, as the solicitor for the zoning hearing board. Do I have a second?
I'll second
All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Nice have it. Appointment of deputy tax collector.
that. I talked to Becky Reinhardt, and again, she asked that Deborah
Heckman.
Heckman would be that person. She is the tax collector for the borough of Shoemakersville.
So you're making that motion, I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Nice have it. Appointment of engineer and surveyor. I'd like to nominate System Design Engineering as our engineer and surveyor for the year 2025. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Appointment of primary SEO, secondary SEO, and approval of the fee schedule. Do we want to eliminate the fee schedule for now until we have a chance to review it? Just do the
I think that's,
SEO and secondary SEO?
The fee schedule is in the master fee
It's partial
schedule.
here.
I have it separate just so that you have a copy of that, because it's in the master, correct?
Okay.
We spliced it
Did
in.
you guys have time to review it? Do the email?
Yes, yes.
And you're all good with it? Okay, then we'll leave it on. All right, let's see, we have Scott McCaffrey as a primary sewer enforcement officer. Keith Schollwalder. Is Tom Unger gonna be on that list since he's retired?
No.
So we'll scratch him from last year.
Yes.
And Nicholas Volk.
He resigns, working elsewhere now. I would say Kevin Byer is the person that should be second.
So we have Scott McCaffrey, Keith Schollwalder, and Kevin Byer.
Beyer.
Did you get them, Craig?
Right. There was a, didn't you forward a listing of those to the board?
Yeah, that was a
I-
previous resolution, folks adopted. Now I can get that to you again. No big deal.
Okay.
Okay, so you have that, have those three names?
Scott, Keith, and Kevin.
All right, I'd like to make that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Appointment of planning commission consultant. I'd
That's
like to.
Green Valley Consultants.
Yep, do you want to make that nomination?
You make that motion?
I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Appointment of planning commission secretary. I'd like to nominate Craig Long as the planning commission secretary for 2025. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Ayes have it. I'd like to nominate Kevin Hartman for the vacancy hearing board chairman. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Appointment of fire marshal. Someone make a nomination.
That would be Troy Hatt.
No?
I'd make that
No,
motion.
he's EMC.
Pardon?
Isn't Troy Hatt your
no,
EMC?
no. Isn't Jared the OC?
No.
He was appointed
He's-
fire marshal and emergency management
Well,
coordinator
but
last year.
Right, but we changed
That-
that he wasn't the fire marshal.
Yeah, we did. Didn't we do
Did we?
something with that last year?
Yes, there was. So it was, on the books is Troy's the fire marshal, and then I'm his deputy in Windsor.
We changed
Okay.
it last
Yeah,
So
year.
no,
that was,
yeah.
it was
Last
adjusted for
February,
that.
we-
Yeah, I
And
remember.
our submissions reflect that also back to the township, so.
Okay, so you're making a nomination. Go
I
ahead.
make a motion that Troy Hatt be the fire marshal.
I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Appointment of the emergency manager coordinator. I'd like to nominate Jared Ames for that position. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. All right, adoption of resolution number 1, Berks County delinquent tax collector.
I'll make that motion that the county of Berks serves as the agency for collection of delinquent taxes.
I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Adoption of resolution number 2 is March being the time for the ag district opening Mr. Roman, I'd like to make that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye. Ayes have it. Adoption of resolution number 3, email usage and retention policy. Was there any update on that, Russell?
There's no update, but I do think it's something that we need to talk about. I think this was brought up last year. I don't know that we're fully complying with it. And I think that it's important, particularly in this day and age, that we make sure, I'm still communicating with all three of you on non-township email addresses. And I think that, no, I understand the steps that you've made, Mr. Mazeka, to isolate it. But from a right to know perspective, I get very concerned. I think that and Dave has made the step in the right direction, because all of his township communications go to one address now that it does not contain any personal information. I'm assuming that, Jerry, that you get email that's not related to the township on your email address.
I send emails, I get no response, but yeah. Let's talk about this, okay? I'm guilty. I'll start using a township email, okay? But as a board, okay, last year there was a lot of drama about two people talking, okay? And let's review this process, all right? So if there's two people emailing each other, is that considered a quorum where that's not legit? Per your pink slip last January?
An email does not constitute a meeting. A meeting is when two of you are in the same place and potentially conducting business.
Mm-hmm.
Having conversations, or deliberating on township business that is not within the exceptions that would allow for an executive session. So my concern is more that, let's say, Jerry, you send an email to Craig and vice versa, and someone says, a member of the public, requests through the right to know process that they want copies of all those emails. Well, we have to disclose those.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it's cleaner that you have a separate email. I think it should go through the township domain, because technically the emails on your personal email don't belong to the township. They belong to you as an individual. And what if you say, I'm not turning them over? Now you put the township, now that puts the township in a very difficult position, because they can't comply with their obligations. So I know we talked about it a little bit last year. We had a lot of big things going on last year. I'm not criticizing.
No, I
but-
think you're right, and
Yeah.
your point's well taken. I'm just taking it one step further here, okay?
Right.
And that's the question I don't seem to get an answer to. It seems to get, if two members of the board are communicate by email, does that constitute a meeting?
That
It's
is not.
But you're face to face, it is.
Face to face, it is or has the appearance of it. Because, you and Craig could go out for a beer and have nothing to do with the township. That's not necessarily a meeting, but it could look like it is. So what we discussed last winter was when there was a meeting here at the township, and there's two of you here. I'm not suggesting that a meeting was occurring. I just suggested that it could look that way, and we wanted to avoid that appearance. But I just, when I was going through, the reorganization preparation, I thought, rather than just, well, here we do this every year. It's like, let's put some thought into this, and if we're going to adopt this resolution, then we need to do it.
Okay. So what needs to be done to be in compliance with the resolution then?
I think the very first thing is that you all need to have email addresses that are issued by the township, and you know, and that's what you need to conduct your business on. So, you know, I don't know who does that, but I know Ben has one, because when I copied him on some of the material, I used his township email address because I had it.
Yeah, because we set them up last year.
Yeah, well, mine comes through the township email.
Okay, put one in the column there for on your column, okay?
Now, it's up to you if you want to adopt this tonight, or if you want to table it, you know, and take a closer look at it before, you know, to see if we want to change anything in it. I mean, I don't think that it's mission critical that it be adopted tonight. Last year we tabled it. I don't see a problem with that. I just want to put it on your radar that it's something we really want to be paying attention to, because this stuff gets complicated in a hurry.
And if we're going to be emailing our professional service invoices, we really should be emailing to the township.
Right. And you also could create you know, an email group that supervisors that, and that would have all three of your addresses, and that way we can make sure that you're all getting certain communications.
And then I'll make a motion that we table that issue until we get everything straightened out. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye. Ayes have it. Adoption of resolution number 4, snow policy for 2025.
This I think you can adopt, but Ben, I'd like you to at least take a gander at it and see if there's anything that we should update, and then we can always re-adopt it. You know, we can update it at a later meeting, but I think it's there's no policy in effect. I do have hard copies if that's easier.
My thing was that it's been a number of years since that's been out,
Right.
that we should resend them since there's a lot of new people that moved into the township.
Well, one thing I noticed, and this is,
Not me, don't worry me.
this is a very minor point, but it says here that if a township residences a dangerous situation, that it should be reported by calling the township office. That should probably be updated to your township phone number, would be my thought. But nothing else, you know, sort of struck me as needing to be changed. So I don't know if you just want to amend that section to be reported to the roadmaster by calling, and then we can just insert Ben's township phone number. Other than that, I don't know.
Well, that is back and working, number 2. So,
It's working.
yeah. Jerry got it set up that I can.
Oh, I thought it was going to your emails,
Well, it is, it goes to my email, but I get it,
but they can leave a message over there.
yes. You can leave a message on the number 2, and I get that.
Okay,
So-
and the phone came back.
Is that the township email? Or
Well, no, it's the township phone number,
the 376?
yeah, and then they can hit number 2,
Oh,
and it'll go.
then we don't need to change anything.
and stuff.
I was just concerned that it was all going to Craig, and then,
No,
you know, and then it's, you know,
Okay, you hit number 2 and it goes to Ben.
then I think you're fine. Then I don't, you know, unless there's something in here that,
well, there for, the last couple of weeks, we had an issue, but it's
Okay.
resolved, so.
okay. Then I think you're fine to adopt this as it is, you know, subject to anything you might come up with.
Yeah, I think everything was good on it.
And we can revise it anytime.
You can. I just wanted to, again, it's, rather than it's just road re-adopt, but, you know, let's look at it.
Well, I'll make that motion that we adopt the snow policy for 2025. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, selection of depositories for the township funds. I'd like to nominate Pennsylvania Local Government Investment Trust, Pliget, and M&T Bank as the depositories for the township for 2025. Do I have a second?
How many accounts are there?
Well, the
Are we just
M&T
saying M&T Bank and multiple accounts, or just M&T Bank?
M&T Bank has the state fund and the general fund. Those are non-interest bearing. All the interest is in the savings at Pliget.
Okay, what about the commitment we made to fund the Hamburg Fire Company for?
That would be general funding, and that would come out of the general fund.
But that's being reserved, accounted for.
Right, I mean, there's monies available for that in the general fund.
No, Craig, what I'm saying to you is, last year, we adopted, it's a resolution, I believe, that we were gonna commit X amount of dollars per year. And then, when they purchased a piece of equipment, it'd be the second year or the seventh year, we kept somehow accounted for those dollars.
Right,
for
okay.
those- That's all I'm saying to you.
Yeah,
This
that's-
doesn't have to be a
on
separate
paper,
account.
we have that, but it's in the
Okay.
general fund, but
Okay.
that's just accounted for.
Okay.
Okay, you have a motion and a second?
I'll second the
Okay, all
depositories.
in favor say aye. Aye. Ayes have it. Determination of meeting times and dates. Meetings will be at 7 o'clock, second Wednesday of every month.
Mhm.
The budget meeting at 3:30 on the 26th. What day would that be?
That doesn't work, because that was demonstrated here 2 weeks ago when the decision had to be made and the paperwork was already filed for the increase. So I believe that budget meeting should take place, if we're gonna even have a budget, if it needs anything, in early December. Earlier in December. At 7 o'clock to the public on the 10th.
I think the reason that it occurs as late as it does is because it has to be advertised for a period of time before you can, the preliminary budget,
20
that's not
days.
in
20 days.
20 days, in November. So, and I think that, well, I guess that would allow us, if they, your November date, you adopt it.
November in 2025 is what you're saying, Russell.
Yeah, if you adopt it, I'm just looking at the calendar. I understand what you're saying, Jerry. So your November meeting is going to be on the 12th. So I mean, I don't understand why we don't adopt it why we even need a second meeting in December, but most townships do it that way, I believe.
Not where, typically not. Usually it's done by, they advertise it and then they
Yeah.
truly adopt it at their December meeting. But it's advertised after their November meeting,
Right, because
because that's when your budgets are happening. And that's what I'm used to, is the November cycle is the budget meeting.
yeah, I don't see
And then you
why,
advertise it, and
preliminary.
then at your regular December meeting, it's truly adopted.
it just requires that
It's
it be,
timing.
it requires that it be advertised immediately though, after the November 12th meeting, because your
because of the
December
20
meeting
days.
is the 10th, which is going to give you more than 20 days, but if you don't advertise it right away,
Right.
then you're going to run into a timing issue. And probably the reason it's been done, always been done that way is just to avoid, you know, a time crunch, but truly, you know.
Well, I mean, there's two issues here. The budget is, there was a decision had to be made the following day. So I'm not sure what the purpose was, and myself, I can't speak for everybody else, works at 3:30. So it's really like in the middle of the afternoon kind of thing for me.
Well, I think the time is a separate issue. I agree with you that the time I think it was done that way when, at the convenience of the supervisors at the time, but I think that, as was demonstrated this year, that it's not a good time now. So I think that moving it to 7 o'clock should be there shouldn't be any debate over that. I think the question is, I think, based on the timing, as long as it's advertised right after the meeting on the 12th, you should be able to adopt it at the meeting on the 10th and avoid the necessity of having that end of year meeting. So I don't think you need to advertise for that meeting now, because I advertised for you for that meeting, a couple weeks ago anyways. So I think you can just establish the regular monthly meetings at this point.
I don't have a problem with that. Now, I'd put in there this special January meeting, and that would be, if we're going to have that meeting this month with the fire companies, that would have to be advertised.
I was thinking that's what you mean there.
So,
And what was the date of that again?
so that was on the 15th. there's probably, Russell, on that meeting, can we have two phases of that meeting? A public meeting and an executive session meeting with the fire chiefs only?
What's the reason for the executive session?
I think some of it might not be appropriate for the public.
Why don't we talk, we're gonna have an executive session, during this meeting. I'd like to know what the substance of that is going to be, so I can determine if it fits within one of the
Okay,
categories.
all right.
And is this January 15th we're talking about?
Yeah, that's
So
at
we'll
7
table
o'clock.
that for now.
Table, why don't you adopt the monthly meeting schedule at the second Wednesday at 7 PM?
Standard.
And then we'll circle back to the special meeting.
Okay.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion, the second Wednesday of every month.
I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Ayes have it. Determination of amount of treasurer's bond recommendation at $750,000. Someone make that motion.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
All right.
Ayes have it. Approval for the delegates for the state supervisors convention and selection of the voting delegate. I won't be going up this year. I don't know if, are you guys going?
I'm not going.
I don't think I'm really gonna go at that time of year.
Ben?
You'll be alone.
This is May.
Pamela, you go with
It's
that.
in May 14th.
I'll be attending, yeah, it's a May
Okay.
meeting.
Yeah.
May
I
14th.
can go up, but I leave on vacation right after that, so. Do you want me gone 2 weeks, or do you only want me gone a week?
That's up to you.
It's May. What happens in May?
Our
Don't
shoulder
say
volume.
What? Did I just jinx you guys?
You just jinxed it.
Got snow till June now.
Yeah.
It's only 3 days though. It's Sunday, Monday,
Yeah.
Tuesday.
But then I leave Friday for, well, a week and a half after that, so. So
Here's
I'm not-
Wednesday and Thursday.
And you don't have to go
You
up
can
Sunday.
go up just part-time if you wanna just go through it without being a delegate.
Yeah, I still, do I still have to register? Because I gotta get one of those
Yeah,
badges.
You have to be registered to go up.
Right.
I
Well,
don't have to be official.
you could be a guest, you
Yeah,
can
yeah,
get a
that'd be
guest
a
pass,
guest pass,
you know, for a day, or, you know, with that, if that's all you know, that you won't be
Monday's,
there.
yeah,
all the
Monday's
time.
the better day to go. That's really the best day. Tuesday, the vendors are half day. Sunday
Oh, yeah,
is,
yeah.
there's hardly anything. It's,
I wanted to see what the classes were, so.
yeah, you'll get a
So,
book.
because I'd rather go to the classes than see the other stuff.
Yeah, and if there's
so-
other classes you want us to go to, we have many that will attend, and that's what we do. We go to the various classes for clients, because they are good, they're really good. Just
Okay.
communicate.
So once the list is out.
So there's no voting
Yeah.
delegate then?
There's no voter, I mean, do you plan to go?
I want to see.
And not what I'm saying is if you plan to stay up there next Tuesday, I have to try to get a room for you, if that's what you plan to do.
I'm not rooming with you.
No. Oh,
I'll go to classes.
I love your
Yeah.
direct.
Draw the line.
SDE, you're staying in a townhouse, aren't you?
Yeah, at Hershey Lodge if we can.
I don't have a room.
No, Hershey
but I'll
Hotel.
check it out, see what we have.
The snobby place.
Those be determined if I go
Go
up
to the
one day or
spa.
two, yeah.
Okay, I can get that for you.
But I don't think Ben can be your voting delegate.
No.
No,
I
no.
don't think so.
I just want to make sure that we all understand that.
I'll get that to you, but so, am I supposed to try to get a room, or we just gonna,
When do you mean? That's-
next Tuesday?
The rooms go in about 45 minutes. Hundreds
Well,
of
I don't
rooms
want
are
to get a
gone.
room if I'm not gonna attend any class, yeah. Or if it's
Okay.
just one day, yeah, that's what,
That's right, that's why he's saying, if you want a
Yeah.
room, he's got to book it for you that day. If that
And you can always
morning-
cancel,
Oh,
right?
Can you cancel it?
You can always
Yeah.
cancel.
Yeah, then I would get it.
Okay. Okay?
cause not, since we don't know what the class is.
It would be for one person.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'll take a mouse along, so I'm not late.
okay.
All right, establishment of hourly rate, salaries, phone reimbursement, et cetera. Did you do any number crunching?
Yeah, no, wait. They're right here. Pass.
Send these around?
Yep. I guess you.
Yeah, I have 24 here. This is the 24.
Yeah, this is last year's, what was paid, okay?
This is what was done last year.
Yeah, this was
Okay.
last year, right? Just so you have a basis
Yeah.
for,
Any comments?
you know, the only comment I can make is hourly wages and whatever were often based upon the government's increase in inflation rate, you know, what Social Security went up, that kind of thing. That was often used as a basis. None?
Inflation in the last 12 months is 4%.
4%, okay.
So at this point, in this juncture, with everybody looking at us, I had no discussion with anybody unless you guys were talking about it. So what's the proposal here? I mean,
Well,
nothing's been discussed that I'm aware of.
other than what Mr. Russell just said, is that was a basis that we often used in the past, you know, to cover inflation from the you know, what the government is saying, what the cost increases should be. Do you have another idea?
I think we ought to discuss this a little bit, line by line. I don't know if it's appropriate to do it right here.
I think some of this you should do in executive session because it involves personnel.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think it's, I'm not in favor to add 4% across the board here. That's my
No, I
thing.
think that it's an executive session discussion.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna table that for the time being.
Understanding that some of this, you know, some of this is not determined by you, because for instance, Craig's salary, because he's a working supervisor, is determined by the Board of Auditors.
Right.
That meets tomorrow night,
Mhm.
so they'll make that determination.
I have a question.
Yeah, the agenda says see attached schedule, but there's no
That-
attached schedule.
That's the schedule that I handed out to the board.
So when it's attached, if the agenda says it's attached,
Do you have extra copies for the public?
I mean, it does say it, so if it wasn't on there, I wouldn't say anything.
Russell, is it a right to know for us to know, or is this something that's just executive? That's really the question.
It's all in
I think this is all,
February's minutes.
this has all been public, this is, because what's been attached is
So there's no reason. why
last
we can't-
year's, so
why can't we
what
pass
I'm
that?
asking him
If
is
it's gonna
that
be next month, why can't you
I
pass
do
it?
realize that, but if it's on the agenda, that's implying that
Matter.
it's attached.
You can pass it out.
I understand. You
And then put it-
I know.
It's already been put out.
I looked too. If there are extra copies for, you can certainly make them available to the public.
I got two more.
Yep.
All right.
Well, I don't know if anybody else wanted it.
All right, that's pretty much for reorganization until we come back to it. Can someone make a motion to approve the minutes of the December 26th meeting of the board?
I'll make the motion.
All second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. And before we go on, I am making a motion that we go into executive session. Do I have a second? This is a different one. This is for something else.
So we're gonna go, the motion to go into executive session is to discuss potential litigation.
Do I have a second?
Yes, okay.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Let us know.
Do you want Pamela to come in with
Yeah.
this?
that'd be-
I would.
I'm just gonna stop it for now.
Are we going elsewhere?
We're gonna go
I'd
into,
like to make a motion that we rejoin the public portion of the meeting. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Okay, we're gonna go back to line item number 24 for the special January meeting of the fire companies on the 15th at 7 PM. I'd like to make that motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Okay,
Uh,
now hold on a second here.
Get caught up.
When you're caught up, Greg, I have a question.
And that's at the 15th, 7 o'clock, right? And that'll be a public meeting.
Greg, are you gonna submit the advertisement for all the meetings, including this meeting?
I'll write it up and send it to your office, okay?
Okay. Just wanna make sure we get it out, because it's, the 15th will be come quickly.
Can we do that with the budget meeting as well? Put it right on with the,
We're not doing the budget meeting.
yeah, but we're gonna do it on the 10th, correct?
Well, that's your regular meeting.
Yeah,
So you don't need a separate budget meeting, it's just be on the agenda at the December 10th.
you wanna include that in the advertisement, though, that the budget meeting is gonna be on the 10th of December, that way it's already advertised?
I can.
That way it's already done. All right. Is that it for the reorganization?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman. Can you just redefine the purpose behind the special meeting of the fire chiefs? The full open purpose of the meeting.
Seems like there's a lot of conflict between the fire companies, and we're gonna get it resolved. It's been going on too long. And, we're gonna talk about it.
I think it's
That's why both parties are gonna be here.
The primary discussion point, I think, is gonna be the run cards. If that helps.
It doesn't, because I think we should be airing this between the parties privately before we bring it forward to the township with all factual information.
With all due
And
respect,
we've not
with all due
had
respect,
that chance to do so.
with all due respect, I think it has been aired between the fire companies for years now, and it hasn't been resolved, and so the township would like to have a meeting with the fire chiefs.
Correct, but shouldn't we be allowed to have it as a private meeting before it goes public? Because we've never officially aired the differences, brought it up, discussed it. So shouldn't the procedure be to have a private meeting before it goes private or public? To try to come to a reputable resolution if possible,
As in like an executive session,
correct?
What was that?
as in like an executive session, I think is what he's asking for.
Which, this has been a question of how can we have it without violating, the sunshine law and all the necessary postings that need to happen, but I think we should be able to at least have a meeting off record before it's wrong.
Who do you want at that meeting?
Me, it should just be a sit down with the supervisors and the department chiefs of each department, but
Here's the problem. Sunshine law does not have an exception that this would fit within. So if the supervisors are going to be present at this meeting, it needs to be a public meeting. I don't have, that's a part of what we discussed, is there's no exception to the sunshine law that allows that to occur in private.
even if it's a publicized executive, if we hit the notice to have it in private first, are you able to do so and still be compliant? You're not at all. Because there's been interpretation issues where I've asked other solicitors that have said yes. I'm just looking to come to can we discuss it internally before it comes out? Because then are all parties prepared for what could come about if they're gonna dip in deep as requested?
If you want to meet with Virginville, the Virginville chief, you're more than welcome to do that. But if you want a majority of the supervisors to be a part of those conversations, then we have no choice but to advertise it as a public meeting. And I'm not aware of an exception to the sunshine law that would allow this type of,
But that's why I'm asking, because I'm not sure, Russ, but I just
Yeah.
wanted to be known to the township that if we can come to this before it goes public, we
If
should at
you're,
least be allowed that opportunity to come to that discussion point.
I mean,
Review the facts, make sure it's factual information that we're presenting, because the information that is coming forth is not factual. So I think that we need to discuss it as we can appropriately amongst the supervisors in a civil manner before it becomes a public outcry that could be negative for everybody.
Understood.
That's my concern, on behalf of the township and the respect of what we're doing for the township and the citizens.
Understood. The issue here becomes the sunshine law,
Understood.
is that, you know, and the township wants to be as transparent as possible.
Of course, yep, of course. I wasn't aware, so that's why I wanted to pose it. I mean, there's always interpretation issues on everything. We want to be as forthcoming and factual as we can with today's factual real life, you know, needs and why things are the way they are, but want to make sure that we're being open-minded to today's needs and not 20, 30 years ago differences, and that we remain proactive for the future. That is my goal with everything that we do to continue to serve the citizens in this township.
Does that change anything?
Not for me. If you want to talk to Mark ahead of time, feel free.
I have no issues with what's taking place right now, so, I mean, we'll discuss it at that meeting, and so be it. But the phone works both ways, so.
All right. Any comment?
No.
No? All right, yeah, before we move on, we're gonna go back into item number 13, the fee schedule. Do we wanna review this now?
Yes,
Let's
please.
do it.
That's not item 13.
The fee
It
schedule.
did say fee schedule, so it was the SEO fee schedule and
Approval
the
of fees.
main fee schedule.
Oh, I
It's-
interpret that as, the
it's-
interpretation issues. I interpret that as being related just to the SEO fee schedule.
It's the overall, this includes the SEO fee schedule as well,
Okay.
instead of a standalone. So at the previous meeting, we had reviewed some of the permit issues, like at driveway that Jerry pointed out. So what we've done, we being Russell and I looked at the 2022 base, correct?
So
Yes.
Ryan and I had started, I remember some history on this. Ryan and I had started this discussion with the planning commission to make recommendations to the board, and that's where that document came from.
Okay.
I don't think it ever made it to the board of supervisors, for
But-
whatever reason,
But nonetheless, this was
Yeah.
a nice fee schedule to then
to then base things off of.
Right. So in the beginning, you see the application fees. So these application fees are non-refundable, so that's the application. Then there's a review component to the permit. So that when you're saying, are we going to collect enough so that the township isn't out of pocket? Yes, we believe now we will.
Well, that's
that
my
was-
concern,
that was-
and the driveway wasn't, I didn't have a hang
But
up with the
But
driveway.
it
It's
is,
one example of many.
but it could, it was only $50.
Right.
That doesn't give Ryan enough time to come from our office
Right.
That's
up
all
here
I'm
and
saying.
back, and that's what we want to make sure, if it's a portal to portal, the township's covered.
Right.
Between the application fee and the permit fee
Right.
combined.
So
Okay.
so just help me out here. So an applicant wants to, we use a driveway,
Yeah,
okay?
let's do it.
Or if they want to add plumbing to their house or whatever, okay? They come to Craig. I mean, what's the flow here? What's the process? They contact Craig and say, I need a permit. Craig, you do,
Well, they would possibly contact the township, and if it's a zoning or a codes issue, then Ryan is
Directly-
contacted.
Directly
Okay,
to
then he
SD,
takes it.
correct.
and then he handles it from there.
That's correct.
So you folks incur costs for doing that service, right?
That's why we have an application fee.
Right, okay. So those, no, I just want to make sure.
Yep.
I'm talking about the whole thing, okay?
Mhm.
I'm not hung up on driveway, I'm talking about the whole thing.
Yep.
They come to you, they give you the application
Mhm.
and the fee, and you
Mhm.
tell them what the cost is going to be. You, in turn, bill them directly. You,
The permit.
all the funds, all these fees, you collect all these fees from them.
Correct.
And then,
Correct. They can be made out to SDE, or they can be made out to Windsor Township.
what's happening? What's happening now?
My understanding is they're made out to Windsor Township, I believe.
So Windsor Township, you're collecting all those fees that's in this, okay,
Right?
Right,
okay.
right,
And then you turn around and your company invoices the township for their services.
correct.
Okay,
then you'll see the itemized bill.
Right. Now, perfect. I understand enforcement, we lose, okay? There was an actor in here that was said, you know, that they're working the system here, this one multiple property development, right? Did this address these loopholes they've been jumping through? Avoiding cost. What I'm saying to you is, if this person, I'm gonna point next to the bank, that person sitting in that chair, an empty chair,
Mhm.
if they're working the system, okay, does this address the cost? That we don't keep paying and paying and paying, and they're beating the system?
That's why we did the application fees, so up front, we're collecting that fee.
Okay,
That's-
because that was
that's
one of the
goal.
concerns that was brought up, all right?
Mhm.
Okay. Now, fine. My question is, there's applicants that we can back charge for services. I think that's not understood here on this side of the table. If it is, it's not being done. So how do we capture that going forward?
I can review all of the different, we call them work order numbers,
Okay,
and advise Craig as to which ones we should be backfilling, like the Hamburg Center.
right,
That was the one that, we had been dealing with, like, them to close out the bond for about 3-4 months. So
Right.
there was an expenditure. I was unaware that there was fees prior to that, but we captured everything,
okay.
okay?
I-
That's what I would like to do.
I don't know,
is
I don't know where the safeguards are in the system here to make these things happen, right?
Right, well, Great Valley does the planning reviews. So once the plan is reviewed and approved, it comes to our office to then go into construction.
Okay,
Before the plans are recorded.
so you're, okay,
Which is over here,
Yes,
we start
yes.
talking about recording. All of the fees should be collected before we release that plan for recording.
okay,
Okay, so a check that makes you whole.
all right,
Then moving forward, it goes into construction. And then, before the letter of credit's released,
okay.
pay all the outstanding fees. So
Okay.
there's a couple
Okay.
triggers, and that's what I think you're asking me.
That's what
That's
I
the
think's
process.
missing, okay? That's
Okay.
why I'm up, not for the tax increase, okay? Because I think there's, money can be saved or captured that we are not doing, okay?
Mhm.
That's why I'm driving for this, right? I'm not trying to increase fees, because someday I'm gonna have to pay one of these fees, and you can ask my family, I don't wanna pay any fees, right? So, I'm just saying, it's not fair that people that are acting and doing any of these activities are subsidizing the process. That's my concern.
You're in
Jerry.
favor of fee for service?
Jerry,
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
whenever there is an application for a project, a planning commission, you know, a plan or subdivision or whatever, we record obviously what the fee is. And then when the professional services come in, you know, whatever, that's recorded. And of course, all the arithmetic is done.
Mhm.
And then they would be billed if they, and there would be no final approval until they would pay all of that.
Okay.
And we've been doing that. That's
Okay.
our method. We've been
Okay,
doing that
well,
all along.
I just wanna make sure that's happening, okay?
Yeah, I can show you all of the things that we have done over all the years, showing their costs coming in and all the billing.
Okay.
And then, of course, the applicant is billed for whatever is due.
And Pamela and I have also discussed creating like a worksheet or a spreadsheet where you can put in the numbers so that, because some of this gets a little complicated, so that so that you can make sure that you're charging the right thing up front, particularly when we're dealing with plans.
Mhm.
Because there's a township filing fee, which is really designed to cover some of your administrative overhead. And then there's review fees and whatnot. And
Application fee, review fee,
right.
filing fee, state permit fee.
Right, and then part of it, sometimes it has to, you know, depending on the project, how many acres are involved, you know?
Yeah.
And so it gets complicated. And so we were talked about trying to create, you know, something where it will, to make it a little bit easier,
Okay.
so that we make sure
Yeah.
we're collecting that up
I
front.
just wanna make sure we're capturing it all, that's all.
Okay, does that help?
Yeah,
All right, so those are the first couple pages, and those are the UCC, and that pretty much is when you talk about permits, when you talk about plumbing improvements, things like that. Pretty much when we issue the permit, before it can be picked up, those fees need to be paid. If there is a failed inspection, there's an additional fee. That fee would be collected before we issue the UNO. So again, there are trigger
Right.
points to
Okay.
collect all these other fees. if such an instance happens. I also added a disclaimer under the stormwater fees on page 3. So I don't want people misled that this fee, it's really, let's say, for a large pole building that is over the threshold of the stormwater, but it's not part of a land development plan, not part of a subdivision plan. It's just a large pole building, but they need to do stormwater. That's this
Okay,
as a little entity. So if the stormwater management facility is part of a subdivision or land development project, these fees do not apply, just to
Okay.
make sure it's
Yeah,
clear.
I
So
get
that's
that,
what I was
yeah.
trying to add
Okay.
all of these disclaimers.
right,
Like Russell said, just below that, administration fee, 20% of the permit fee, that's to help Craig with the admin. In
Okay.
case it is one of these that Russell said, he's actually the one crunching the numbers and doing the permit. Zoning, again, we put those permit fees up a little bit, just to help out, making sure portal. I did add a whole section on the street cutting permit. Typically that was through LTL, so I wanted to make sure that it was inserted into your overall fee schedule. And there is a non-refundable, so what happens is that permit application comes in, they're never clear. UGI is one of the ones we see a lot, as well as recently cable with Comcast, Frontier, all your different cable companies, the 5G. So there's a lot of activity. You don't want them to cut your road, and then you have a patch, and the patch isn't done correctly. So this is to help offset that. I did put the big disclaimer about the fee for the instance where the home was built without the permit. And then to make everything very clear, all application fees are non-refundable, because if they don't proceed with the work, you still want to collect the money for us to review it.
right.
So we're trying to make that also that's your whole. Then we inserted the sewage enforcement fees on page 5. And then we'll get to the one where Russell and I need some input from you. And this is the zoning hearing, variances, and conditional uses. Russell, you did send a separate email, if you can explain that again, what their costs can be that they can recoup and what costs they can't recoup. And if the $1,500 for the special exception or zoning hearing and the $2,000 for the conditional use is sufficient to make sure they've collected. If, for example, something happens and it's real quick, the applicant is entitled to a reimbursement. So it's not light, but if it's typically the ones that have been happening lately, it does take a time and there is no refund.
Okay.
So go ahead, Russ.
So I had sent out an email back right before Christmas on this. Section 908 of the MPC says that the board can provide reasonable fees to include compensation for the secretary and members of the board, notice and advertising costs and necessary administrative overhead, but it cannot include legal expenses of the board or expenses or engineering or other technical consultants. So I think we've been talking about the $1,500 for zoning hearing board and $2,000 for zoning change, curative amendment, and conditional use, which seems appropriate to me. I don't, but Craig, you would know more.
Well, the variance, the fee initially was a grant, and the fees the costs that we were getting are now closer to maybe $1,400 or $1,500, so the increase is definitely appropriate.
And that's not including the solicitor fee.
Right.
So, because you can't include in that the cost for the zoning hearing board solicitor. But I think that $1,500 then makes more sense.
Yes.
And does that cover a stenographer?
So the stenographer, the appearance fees are supposed to be split equally between the applicant and the board. Cost of original transcript is paid by the party that ordered it. That's what the statute says.
But it says the fee should be split, but can that go towards the 1,500?
Yeah, so half of the appearance fee would go towards the 1,500. The appearance fee is not that expensive, you know, compared to the actual transcription. So when you, Jerry, you're looking confused.
So are you saying we should charge the stenographer, is what you're saying?
So the stenographer will charges us a fee just to show up.
Right.
And so what I'm saying is that half of that fee should be allocated to the applicant when you're looking at, you know, is the 1,500.
So that's something we need to be invoicing the applicant for?
No, that should be covered by your fee.
Oh, that's in, okay,
1,500,
that's in the fee, okay.
Yeah. What I'm saying is you can allocate, I think it's usually $150 or $200,
Okay,
you know, is what the appearance fee is. So $75 of that is township expense, $75 of that theoretically is covered by the fee that you collected.
so that's a good narrative, but at the end of the day, the applicant only pays the fee and they get the stenographer.
They get the stenographer, they don't get the transcript. If they want the transcript, they're supposed to pay for it.
Separately.
And they
Right.
come to us for that, or they go to the,
They go to the stenographer for that.
okay.
Same with the township, if the township wants it.
And that's how it's been working, okay. All right,
And resolutions, you can always adopt them throughout the year. Ordinances, you have to publicly advertise and go through the process. So we're saying, go forward maybe with this, and the next hearings, mark down everything.
right.
But Russell and I feel that, yes, we need to bump them up from your previous discussions with us. And so that's what I'm suggesting is maybe the
Well, you
1,500.
guys work in this all the time, I don't, all right? I'm just saying is I want to make sure we get it made whole, that's it.
That's
Not profit.
For what legally we can
Yes,
be made
right,
whole,
that's
correct?
Yes, that's my concern.
Okay. All right, so is 1,500 and 2,000 okay for those two categories? And Craig, you're pretty much nodding your head, it's financially covered. Okay, all right, then we're gonna get to the last page, 6 and 7. And 6 has the majority of the plan filing fees, and these are for Great Valley during the plan review. So you typically don't lose money because the applicant is paying for all the plan review fees. On page 7, though, the usage of township equipment for some reason was in the 2022 version, and we're wondering why that, because this is a fee schedule for like public to pull permits for plan reviews. It's not.
I think we should pull
don't
that
have-
out.
Yep.
Well, I think the reason we put it in is in case there was an emergency or something like that, that we would have to take our equipment in the state of Borough of Hamburg to help them clean up. And that was for reimbursement of that.
Is that adequate?
Well, Ben would know more about that.
He does have a copy. Page 7.
I think maybe it was just designed so we have one place to look for fees as opposed to, you know, because if we create a separate schedule, or if someone doesn't remember, we have a separate schedule.
So if this is adopted, can I have Ben come out and do some work for me at these rates?
No.
Is that, who does this apply to?
If the county would reimburse us for any help to clean up.
Another
Major storm.
another municipality.
Yeah,
We should have that in here, right? Some kind of language that states that? It doesn't say that, it just says usage of township equipment employee.
The only problem with that is there's a federal, you may have to go under the federal fee schedule.
Yes,
So you're right,
exactly.
yeah, so just that's noted, not that you can't jack the rate because it's a special emergency, you have to go by that fee schedule, so. I understand it's an inconvenience to the township, but they have rules on that, just that it adopts the right fee schedules for that request.
I understand what he's saying, because I've had to do that for various storms for different.
yeah, we don't want to look like we're
municipalities.
ripping them off.
Right. But this is
But
not
we want
for
to
an
be reimbursed
emergency.
for our
Right, but this
our
would
time
not,
and equipment.
this would not be under a federal emergency, these fees,
No, I think this is designed, you know,
or other.
let's
Right.
say, you know, a neighboring municipality needs to needs a loader with an operator, you know, we're gonna charge them $110 an hour. And I think that some of the discussion was that we really wouldn't want to just rent them the machine without the operator, because we're concerned that they won't have someone who can properly operate it. That's why it's you know, with operator everywhere.
Well, the pickup truck should probably have the operator then.
I think we're probably less concerned about the pickup truck, but yeah, so we can do that. But the question is, do you want this in your fee schedule now, you know? And I think that,
Or do you want to research it and make sure it's sufficient?
and I think that Ben would need to look at this, because this is,
I was
these
gonna
numbers
say,
are.
I have last year's numbers for the, like what Jared said, the federal numbers. I have those from last year. I can see
Yeah, but I
that
don't
we're
think
not
that,
exceeding, no, not that we're
Yeah.
not
So
way
Craig,
above.
all the years you've been here, has this ever, have we ever done any of this?
I don't remember anything.
this was a discussion that happened in 2022.
No, I'm saying, is
Yeah.
equipment ever going out anywhere to be used?
I think that we have rented equipment from other municipalities,
Okay.
which is why this
Okay.
Oh,
conversation happened.
we really,
Right, and then we said, well, wait a second, what if we have to rent to someone else?
Okay.
so do you want to just cross out this section for now, table this section, but have the fee schedule without this?
Won't make it match the federal numbers. That way we're safe all the way around, right?
Well, if it's gonna match the federal numbers, then you don't need it,
Right, because they're,
because
We just need it for our records. We don't carry them.
correct.
Or do we leave the verbiage in and just put the numbers as per the federal rate?
Why not?
there's no, I mean, you can, but I don't know that it matters one way or the other whether you do, because you have to follow the federal rate. It's just more words.
Okay. To me, I'm okay with leaving it with the rest of the fee. I'm fine with that, that's what your question is.
Leave it as is?
Yeah, I'd like to have it there too.
Do you still want Ben to check it, that it,
Just compare it to see what the federal numbers are.
So then, do you wanna, we had originally discussed not adopting this till February. Do you wanna wait until February so Ben can
Yeah.
update the numbers?
Yep.
we're gonna table it? And there's no changes except for Ben looking at section, Roman numeral 4, the usage of township equipment. And Craig, you'll put that back on the agenda then for the February meeting?
February meeting.
Yeah.
Well, while you have the floor, do you want to do your SEO?
Sure.
I don't see it on the agenda. SEO report.
We usually do reports, that's why.
Yeah, it's not on here.
Yeah. Can we do it? Or do we have to amend the agenda?
It's on the agenda now. Do you wanna do, since we're meeting on the 15th anyway, do you wanna do reports at the
Okay.
meeting on the 15th?
I'm not coming to the meeting on the 15th.
Oh, you're not?
Because now I have another meeting. Do you want Ryan here? The special meeting is 2026. The special January meeting is
Oh, you're,
20
okay. Yes, the 15th
of this month,
of this one.
not next year. See, I thought that was the special meeting for next
Yeah,
year.
the special meeting is for
This year.
this year's January.
Sorry. See, I wrote 26. All right, I have a conflict. I'll be at another meeting. I will send Ryan to be here, and he can do all the reports, correct? As well as the fee schedule. No
Yeah.
issues. Because there's
Oh.
nothing of significance.
I guess we can adopt, you know, Ben, if you get those numbers to us, we could probably adopt the fee schedule at the January 15th meeting too.
Okay.
Possible.
Yeah.
The reason it's not in the agenda is historically, we just didn't do reports. Historically, we just had the
Oh, you just did pure
organization,
reorg.
and we didn't do
You weren't
that.
sure if anybody was gonna show up.
Right.
This is a weird, yeah. It's a
Yeah,
weird-
and that's why I'm saying, since we are gonna do a January meeting now, we might as well just put the reports on the agenda for that meeting.
Okay.
That's a special meeting, right?
Right. Yeah, we don't usually do a second January meeting.
Running to town. Is that 7 o'clock, right?
7 o'clock.
And that agenda will be the fee schedule and reports.
Yes.
All right,
I'm good.
all right, we're done with reorganization. All right, on the public comment. Gwyneth Fowler.
Did you just turn off your recording?
No, I turned it so I'd be on it. I don't like being on camera either, but I wanted to wish the board a happy new year. As you know, I've been coming to meetings for about 18 months now, and I've noticed a few topics keep coming up over and over that it sounds like the township could use some assistance with. Some of these include writing job description for township positions, updating the park agreement, having some kind of office hours so residents or applicants could drop off documents or engineering plans, organization of township records, including possibly digitizing them, answering general inquiries. I wrote a letter to the board on December 30th, 2024, asking if they would consider hiring a township manager or a secretary assistant to help manage the township affairs. I hope you consider doing this, and if you do so, I hope you consider me as a possible person for this position. Thank you for your time, and thank you for allowing me to speak.
Any comments? I have no comment.
Craig, you have a comment?
Well, at this point, there's a lot of things we're doing. Over all the years, I really haven't had a whole lot of people come. Whenever someone would want something with the township phone number, they'd call, and I'd make arrangements that we'd be able to do that. Having someone in here all the time, at this stage, if we'd have a police force, if we'd have people who were here, it'd be a different story. But right now, in my opinion, it's not necessary to have someone here for certain hours. Because with the township phone, whenever they'd call, if there'd be something necessary, I'd make arrangements for them to do that. One of the things that we talked about as a board, of course, is when we had the older building, we did have all the space for storage, for filing systems. Now, of course, we have to update that, and that's something that we talked about for a while already, to update the record-keeping system, and that's on the agenda for us to do.
And at this point, in my opinion, we don't need another salary to pay.
I think sometime down the road, as the township expands, then I think that's going to be absolutely, very appropriate.
Any other comment?
No, I think this falls into personnel, so we might have a small chat in executive session about that, okay? So we can put that on the list.
All right.
Well, we're already discussing this one in personnel.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yes, that will be in addition to that, yes.
All right, then we'll go on to old business, the township email address.
We do have a paid person to do IT work for the township. He works with the website. And the township email address, Windsor Township, twp@aol.com. Windsor Township was never paid. When we set this up years and years ago, that's on my account. Windsor Township never got an invoice for their email because it was always on mine. And that's the way it is. Now, what I'm saying is now, Carl has this set up, he's doing our IT work, and I think we should definitely have a new township email address, as we talked about earlier, and I'd like to have permission from the board to meet with Carl, to have this thing set up and start having a new township email address, and then, as you said, you know, that all the information could come to all three of us or whatever,
Yeah, John,
but get, you know, not the one that we have, that's on my account.
Yeah.
that
so
I-
the one that you get all your emails on right now, just so I'm clear, so I understand what you
Yeah.
just said, you're saying that's not a township email address?
Well,
It's an
when this
AOL
was done years
What's
and
that?
years
It's an AOL
ago,
address.
Okay, all right.
I did that, you know, for
So you're
that.
guilty as I am here.
Pardon?
No, Craig
I
has
couldn't
this-
hear what you said.
He has another email address at AOL. You have C Long, I think.
Yeah, but that's
Oh,
my,
yeah, it's
you know,
personal.
I have the
Yeah.
farm, but everything's
Okay.
with
Yeah.
that.
It's just through AOL.
And it's through AOL, and that was just done years ago to expedite things for the township.
Right, okay.
Well, most of the,
So you need a new email address, I need an email address, Ben's okay, Dave's okay.
And
Is
we're
what I'm hearing?
working that through Carl Healy,
Yeah.
you know, because he's doing our EIT work. So I put that on the agenda so that everyone's aware of the fact that we're gonna start that process to get all of this squared away.
Okay, well, Craig, just, you probably know this, or Carl knows this, you better instruct him to have all those emails that you have now coming directed to, rerouted to your,
Yeah,
New email
right,
address.
there's a lot of things we're gonna have to do,
Yes.
and for a period of time, we're gonna have two of them, because, you know, I have to change everything through all the government agencies and
Right,
whatever,
right.
you know, to have all of that changed.
Well, he can direct that to be forwarded, but the other thing I'm gonna tell you is that you need to see if he can go in and archive all of the emails that you have sent through that email address, you know, because those need to be archived with the township because of right to know.
Right, I have those, you know.
Yeah, but that
there's
needs-
about, you know,
20 million.
1,500 emails that are there, that are saved.
I know. But they need to be archived for the
We'll do
township.
that. But I put that on there because we want to start the process and get that taken care of.
And another thing with Carl, when we worked on the Zoom meeting over the weekend, he made it more accessible to mobile devices. It was pretty much set up for laptops.
Oh,
And people, and myself included, were having difficulty of accessing our mobile devices, so we did some tweaking on it. And I was able to log on to this on Saturday on my tablet. So we took care of that right away. All right, on to new business, the planning commission membership appointment. Since we had Doris Ridenour had resigned at the December meeting, I talked to Kyle Huntsberger, and he indicated to me that he would like to stay on as the alternate, so I talked to the other alternate, Orrin Moyer, and he is willing to become the fifth member of the
Oh,
planning commission. So if there's no other nominations, I'd like to nominate Orrin Moyer to the planning commission to fill out Doris Ridenour's, the rest of Doris Ridenour's term.
right.
And when is it? I need to get back to him and tell him that.
I'll verify that, but I'd have to
It's a
check.
year and a half, I thought,
Well,
middle of next year.
they're 4-year terms, and she was just reappointed, so I'll give you the
Yeah.
exact time.
Yeah, I'm gonna get back to him and let him know then.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Ayes have it. Time extension for Hamburg self-storage. What's going on there? Is that in the planning or?
that is, I think planning commission just recommended it, but because it wasn't gonna come up again until, at that point, we weren't gonna have a meeting.
They had to
until
go
Feb-
through variances.
No. Planning recommended approval, but because we weren't gonna get it onto the supervisor's agenda until
Right.
February, they submitted a time extension, so you just need to acknowledge that they've granted you an extension until the end of February 2025.
need a motion.
You just need a motion.
And is this the one in Edenburg or the one down on 61?
It's the one
Edinburgh.
sixty-one.
This
This is the one up by, by Josh Yupa.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking, that was,
Yeah.
yes, Josh's,
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
okay.
the Edinburgh one.
okay.
The other one needed zoning here, right?
They
Multiple.
already-
We already had theirs.
Yeah, they had it, they
Yeah.
had
Yeah,
it.
they had their zoning hearing already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, I'd like to make that motion that he grants us an extension till February 28th, 2025. Do I have a
Before
second?
before we vote on this, this is one of my concerns here. Should I be going to the planning commission to know about these things? I mean, we're asking for a vote here, and I don't know what's going on here, okay? So this goes back to the email issue. Is there business going on all the time that I'm not copied on? I don't know anything about this. What are we voting for?
I think he's doing an extension at the, he's putting more storage units up.
So,
Let's see,
historically, Jerry, there's
we're not talking about
usually,
this exact example. I'm talking big
yeah,
picture here.
so in the past, there has often been a supervisor who's on planning commission. Dave was on planning commission for a very long time, to sort of create a connection. And then when he came off, and then Craig became the secretary, that was sort of the connection.
No, Scott was on.
Oh, I forgot about that. Scott was on
Scott
too.
was on.
Scott was on too. So you certainly are welcome to be there if you want to, but I mean, the role of the planning commission is to review all this and vet this, and then it comes up to you for approval. But I can understand that.
What do you ask me to approve? I don't know what the
Right.
backstory here is.
And the and so if you may want to come to planning commission so you understand what that backstory is. I know it because I'm at both meetings. Craig knows it because he's at both meetings. But you're welcome to come.
So that's the only way of communication is attend a meeting.
No, there are minutes. I mean, Craig
Yeah, there are
does
planning
minutes,
commission minutes.
but I think you're gonna know more of the story by being at the meeting. Now, we also do put them on Zoom, so you don't have to come in person if you don't want to. You can-
I understand, but
Yeah.
I'm not talking about this particular project. It could be any project, right?
Mhm.
You're asking me to make a motion or second a motion, and I'm just, going along with the ride here as a yes man.
I'm gonna sense that that's not in your nature.
No.
And I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I mean, certainly.
Now,
we can-
maybe we could correct some of that with asking Great Valley to
Yeah.
copy you three gentlemen.
On the review
and-
letters.
On the review letters, so you get an email with the review letters, so you know what they're discussing.
Well, that would make sense, wouldn't it?
But that's why I'm asking if
Yes.
it's not happening.
No,
It's
nothing's
not out of
happening.
my world.
That's what I'm saying.
It's not in-
Nothing's
But
happening,
it's not
okay?
in my world, so
Okay.
it has to be a request to Great Valley.
That's why I'm making all this, making all these sparks here by emails to get people to realize there's major gaps of what's going on.
And if you want, that's perfectly fine. You can get the emails, you can come to the meetings, you can read the minutes.
Okay, I'm not saying I'm for or against this. I don't know what we're voting for here.
So this is fairly ministerial. This is that under the municipality planning code, we have a particular period of time to review and approve an application for land development or subdivision, or it's deemed to be approved. And so essentially what happens is that we go to the developer and say, you need to give us you need to give us an extension. And it's usually because they haven't completed something. And so what this vote is about is that they have sent us a letter saying we're giving you an extension till February 28, 25 to approve. So there's nothing substantive here.
Okay.
That's really all this vote is about.
Okay.
You're
But
not
you see,
approving the plan yet.
but you see
Yeah.
my point.
You're
I do
not-
see your point. I do see your
Okay.
point.
All right, so let's move on here. I'll throw my yes out here, okay? Go ahead, Ben.
3 yeses? Yeah.
You made the motion to approve that.
You got a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. All right, Uniform Construction Board of Appeals.
We have always been a member in case there is a problem and someone appeals it to the county. There is a Berks County UCC Board of Appeals, and we have always been a member. to that, and in case it comes up with that, I would imagine, almost everyone in the county is part of that group.
Pretty much, yes.
And it's, again, we'd have to send in info that with a fee, it's a $300 fee, that he would be a member of the appeals board.
And that fee has not changed for a while.
Right.
so.
Right. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we do indeed renew our membership for the appeals board.
Tom, second.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Ayes have it. All right, pension plan, I feel we should be talking about that in executive session since it's a personnel matter. And the special meeting we already established is the 15th of this month at 7 o'clock. Is there any other comment from the board? Nope. All right, I'd like to make a motion that we pay the bills. Do I have a second?
Okay, here they are.
This will go in executive session also.
Well, then we'll table that until we come out. All right, I'd like to make a motion that we go into executive session. Do I have a second?
And the executive session is to discuss
personnel.
Personnel matters.
Yep, personnel. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. You mind sticking around for this?
I can stay, yes.
Appreciate it. All right, that's it, folks.